My dear brothers and sisters, there are moments in life when pain overwhelms us, when sickness shakes our faith, and when fear whispers that healing may never come. But I tell you today, God's power is not limited by time, distance, or diagnosis. He is a God who heals not in days or weeks, but in seconds, when faith aligns with His divine will. Healing is not just a process, it is a manifestation of God's presence in your life. When we trust fully, heaven moves instantly. When a person prays for healing, many times the words are right, but the heart is filled with hesitation. True healing, however, does not begin when we speak. It begins when we believe. Faith is the bridge between heaven's power and our earthly need. The moment faith replaces doubt, the atmosphere around us shifts. The spirit becomes open to receive, and what seemed impossible starts to yield. Doubt locks the door to divine intervention, but faith throws it wide open. God moves through the channel of trust, not through the noise of fear. When we are uncertain, we limit the flow of His power, but when we surrender our fears and choose to believe, the divine hand begins to work instantly. Healing is not only physical, it starts deep within the soul. When faith takes root, peace fills the heart, and peace itself becomes a healing force. The mind calms, the spirit aligns, and the body responds. Many people wait to see results before they believe, but God asks us to believe before we see. Faith is not born out of evidence, it creates evidence. When the woman with the issue of blood reached out and touched the hem of Jesus' garment, she did not wait for proof. She believed and was made whole. The moment she replaced doubt with faith, power was released. That same principle still works today. The delay in healing is often not God's silence, but our hesitation. We must understand that faith is not an emotion. It is a decision to trust God regardless of what the eyes see or the body feels. When we say, "Lord, I know you are my healer," and mean it from the core of our being, the divine current of restoration begins to flow. Every doubt that lingers acts like a wall between us and our miracle. The moment that wall falls, heaven touches earth in our lives. True healing does not come through complicated prayers, but through a heart that is steadfast in belief. Even a whisper from a faith-filled soul carries more power than loud cries from a doubting heart. Faith is the spark that ignites the miracle. It is the place where God's promise becomes reality, where pain meets power, and where the unseen hand of the Creator restores what was broken. When a person fully trusts in God, they invite His power to move without resistance. God's power is like a river, always flowing, but it requires an open channel to reach us. Prayer spoken with complete trust opens that channel. It is not the number of words that make prayer powerful, but the heart behind it. When faith is pure and free from doubt, heaven responds immediately. Trust creates an atmosphere where miracles can manifest in moments. Many people pray hoping that something will happen, but those who pray knowing that God will act experience His power without delay. When Jesus spoke healing over the sick, His words were short, but His faith was complete. The moment He said, "Be healed," power flowed because there was no hesitation, no inner questioning. The same principle works for anyone who believes today. When you pray with total confidence in God's power, your words carry the authority of heaven. The divine energy that created the universe responds to faith-filled prayer instantly. Trust is not passive. It is an active declaration that says, "I believe what God said more than what I see." When that conviction fills your heart, your prayer becomes a key that unlocks the supernatural. Complete trust removes fear, and where fear cannot exist, faith grows strong. Healing happens in the stillness of belief, not in the struggle of anxiety. When you trust God completely, your mind stops wrestling, your spirit stops doubting, and your prayer becomes a direct line between you and the throne of grace. The moment you release that prayer, heaven hears and acts. God's power does not take time to travel. It moves faster than thought, faster than light, reaching where it is needed instantly. What delays the manifestation is not His slowness, but our uncertainty. If you can pray and truly rest in the assurance that God has already answered, you will begin to see immediate changes, both within and around you. Trust is not something we force. It is something we surrender to. When you release your control and simply let God be God, His power will reveal itself without delay. The prayer that is filled with complete trust carries divine speed, and the miracle begins the moment your heart fully believes healing is never a reward for effort or perfection. It is a gift of grace that flows through connection with the divine. Many people struggle and strive, thinking they must earn God's favor or prove their worthiness before healing can take place. But God does not respond to effort. He responds to relationship. When the heart is connected to Him in faith, healing becomes a natural result of that union. It is not the loudness of our prayers or the length of our fasting that moves heaven, but the sincerity of our trust and intimacy with the One who heals. Just as a branch receives life by remaining connected to the vine, we receive healing when we remain connected to God. His power flows through that connection effortlessly. When we try to heal ourselves through human effort, we often end up weary and disappointed. But when we rest in His presence, divine strength takes over. Healing is not something we perform. It is something we receive. God's love is the source of all restoration, and the closer we draw to Him, the more that love renews every part of our being. The moment you let go of striving and simply rest in faith, the divine current begins to move. You may not feel it right away, but it is working within you, repairing what is broken, reviving what was dying, and renewing what was lost. Healing comes through alignment, not achievement. When your spirit aligns with God's truth, sickness loses its authority. When your thoughts agree with His promises, your body begins to respond. Even the smallest act of surrender invites His power to work freely. This is why Jesus often said, "Your faith has made you whole." He did not say your effort or your worthiness. Faith is the connection point. It links our weakness to God's strength. When you realize that healing is not something you must deserve, you stop trying to earn it and begin to receive it freely. The human soul is healed the moment it believes it is loved unconditionally, and that love becomes the medicine for both body and spirit. Divine connection brings divine results, and through that connection, the power of healing flows without resistance. The prayer that works in seconds does not depend on the length of words or the beauty of speech. It depends on the heart's confidence in God's authority. When you believe without hesitation that God has all power, your prayer becomes a command backed by heaven. Unwavering belief turns ordinary words into instruments of divine power. It is the kind of faith that doesn't wait for evidence to appear but declares healing as already done. When you pray with that kind of certainty, doubt has no room to linger and fear loses its voice. God's authority is absolute. He speaks and creation obeys. When you align your faith with that authority, your words carry divine weight. You don't beg for healing, you release it. You don't plead for help, you proclaim it. The moment your belief stands firm, the atmosphere shifts and God's power begins to manifest immediately. It's not about shouting louder or repeating phrases. It's about standing in quiet, confident faith, knowing that the same God who healed with a word still heals today. Unwavering belief anchors your heart when circumstances try to shake you. It keeps your spirit focused when your body feels weak. It whispers to your soul that the battle is already won because the authority of God never fails. When you hold this faith, miracles do not surprise you. They are expected outcomes of divine truth. Every sickness bows to that truth. Every fear flees from that authority, and every impossibility becomes an open door for God's glory. The key is not in emotional effort, but in spiritual certainty. Believe that what you speak in faith is already established in heaven, and you will see it revealed on earth. God is not waiting to see how long you can pray. He is waiting to see how strongly you can believe. The prayer that works in seconds is not a mystery reserved for the chosen few. It is available to all who trust without wavering. When faith stands firm, heaven moves swiftly. Let your prayer rise from the deep place of conviction that God's authority cannot fail, and you will witness His power unfold before your eyes. For the one who truly believes, nothing is impossible, and every prayer becomes a doorway to instant divine intervention.